and we can see a faster realization of funds. How do you think it's a faster realization of funds? See, when we compare it with local clearing, see, for example, when you present the check, let us just go with an example how this can be explained. See, you are customer A and you get a check from B. You give it to, you will take it like this. Yourself is customer A and you need to give some money to customer B. And the check moves from A to B, B goes to his bank and informs that he got a check from you. This bank will send the check to Y and Y in turn make the payment to X bank, and finally B will get the credit. See, basically when the B gets the check from you for any purpose, maybe a business transaction, or you would have taken some loan, so you must be returning it to them. So when B gets a check from A, it has presented the check in his bank, which is X bank. Then X bank has presented the check in Y in local clearing. This is local clearing. The local clearing, what happens? They just, as we explained, this X bank and Y bank, they meet each other at the local clearing house. They exchange the checks among themselves, and then they do the settlement. With the settlement, X gets the amount from Y, whatever check they present on behalf of customer B. So once they realize the money from the local clearing, they credit the money to B's account. So this entire process sometimes takes about 3 days. For example, when you present the check today, suppose if you think that you are just presenting the check into our bank today at around 11 o'clock, what happens? This particular branch collects all the check which they receive from customers on the day, and they just pull it, they send it to the service branch. The service branch just put together. Similarly, they would have received checks from various branches. All these checks pulled together, and then they just segregated bank-wise. They prepare the list for each bank. Then the next day morning, they go to clearing house, which is the Reserve Bank of India Center. In some places, it is a State Bank of India Center. So they go to the clearing house. They meet the various bankers over there, and then they exchange the checks, and finally they just do the settlement. When I say that they do the settlement, they just involve Reserve Bank of India, where all the banks have their account which is meant for clearing purpose. So once the settlement happens, your beneficiary, that is customer B, gets the credit into his account. So net when you calculate the moment the B presents the check to his banker and the time he gets the money into his account, it is almost third working day. That is the way it happens in the past, before the introduction of truncation. After introduction of truncation, what happens? The check from B's bank, it will move via imaging to a common place called a local clearing house, which is presently it is being taken care by a third party called NPCI, which is National Payments Corporation of India, NPCI. So that particular organization, which is a part of Reserve Bank of India, they conduct this particular clearing now. So they monitor the movement of images from different banks. So when the image goes to the A's bank, the A's bank will check the account of A. If there are sufficient balances available, then they debit A's account. Then they send the money to B's bank, which is X bank. And once the X bank receives the money from this particular transaction, they credit to the customer B. So even though when I say that the image is going from one branch of a bank to another branch of a bank, and then in between there is a third party agency involved, which is a part of Reserve Bank of India, which controls the entire clearing part. So it monitors the clearing. So when there is a sufficient balance, this process goes smoothly. There is no intervention, manual intervention. So all this happens within a day. By end of day, you will realize that your account is getting the credit. So it is better funds management, and we get the realization in a faster manner. How do we say that we because of CTS we have better funds management? Because the funds are moving in a better direction, and it is also being monitored by a third party who will know that how the funds are moving from one bank to another bank, and each bank has to have sufficient balance in Reserve Bank of India's account for this clearing purpose, so that the money will be get settled immediately. So at the end of the day, it will get settled. And if you look at this particular process, it happens throughout the day. It is almost like 24/7. Only very few holidays are there for this NPCI. Maybe the important holidays like your Independence Day or the Republic Day. Only those are the days which this particular office is closed. Otherwise, generally, if you look at, they're working more than 350 days, 350 to 55 days in a year. So the funds are moving fast and the funds are being managed properly. So the most important thing is that whenever we talk about clearing, people have to move from one branch to another branch to deposit the checks. That has been totally stopped now as far as the bankers are concerned. When we talk about customers, the customer need not visit the branch, because what's happening nowadays, even the ATM centers are equipped with certain clearing boxes. So you want to present some checks into your account, you can just go there and drop your check in the clearing box. So the people from the bank, concerned bank, they will come and take the check which is meant for clearing, and then your check is being processed at a particular service branch. That is the way that even as a customer, you need not visit the branch. The checks are going from different places. Okay. Now let us see what are the features of, especially with regard to security features. With regard to security, what are the security features of check truncation system? See, it is image. Let us talk about the paper, the check, or that it is image friendly. Basically, it is this particular stationery is if you see that stationery or you feel it, it is image friendly because it will help you to image correct in a perfect manner, and it will not glow under UV light. It is very sensitive to acids, alkalis, or solvents, whatever it is, because if something is there on the paper, it will just show that in this paper is not okay for imaging, so that the particular bank can take care of it. Then this watermark. You heard about watermark even in all rupee notes. Reserve Bank of India has put some watermark, right? While printing the note itself, the watermark has been created, and you can just feel the watermark while counting the notes. If you see that instrument, you can see that there is a standard watermark with the words CTS 2010. Then there is something called void pantograph, which is at the print stage itself. It shows the word void, 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 on forgeries made using photocopies and scanned colored images. If you just put the check on the scanner, and the system recognize if it is a forged instrument. If it is a correct instrument, it will allow it to pass. Suppose if it is a forged instrument, definitely that system will not accept the image, it will just throw it off. That is why this pantograph is being used to avoid frauds. And you can see the logo of the bank also, concerned bank logo is also printed in with invisible ink. Generally, it is not visible in our naked eyes, but if you see through ultraviolet, it's an ultraviolet ink, and if you see through ultraviolet lamp, you can find out the bank's logo on the check. And something called field placement of a check. What is that field placement? On a check, we have already seen that the very important areas of a check, or to start with the date. We have seen there is a date on the right hand side corner. We can just capture again. Let's go through the check again for a minute. Let us see one by one now. You are aware that there's a date column in the check. There is a pay column to whom we are going to make the payment. There is an amount column where we have to write in figures. Similarly, on the left hand side, you have to write in words. When you come down below the words, there is a space meant for signature, is to be signed by the drawer of the check. So all these are the features, and it is called field placement of a check. Whatever they are in the column, we have to put it correctly. For example, if you look at the present CTS checks, there is a column meant for date, wherein the checks have been printed with the boxes. and it is expected from you that you have to put the dates in a correct manner. For example, if it is 9th July today, you have to put 09/07/2020, and you can't just simply put 09 slash and all that are not allowed. You just put only the filling blanks on the space available for date. And mandating of colors and background. See, if you look at the checks from a bank, maybe if you compare the check issued by State Bank of India and another check issued by HDFC Bank, you can see the difference between the colors of the check, and also again actually the logos are different, right, from bank to bank, and the background also is totally different. Each bank has its own way of printing the checks. Let us see one example how it looks like. And printing of account numbers. It is also very important feature in a check where the account numbers are mentioned, correct? Without the account number, the check cannot get passed, right? So these are the field replacements of a check 1. Number 2, mandating of colors and background, and printing of account numbers, and the bank's logo is printed in invisible ink, that is with ultraviolet ink. Then there is a white pantograph. Then we have a standard watermark with the words CTS 2010, and the paper also matters a lot, because you cannot print these checks on with a normal paper. It is nowadays the paper itself is coming for a specific purpose of printing of a check. You remember this, what happened? I can tell you in the year 2010, when we got introduced this particular CTS system. We have advised all the customers to surrender the existing checkbooks from the customers, both in the retail sector and as well as in the corporate sector. We have collected all the unused checks at that point of time, and all the banks have issued a CTS enabled check to the customers. So the LA check is totally different from the present CTS check, because we don't want to give any chance for the customers to present the old check and then the check gets bounced because of the various features available for CTS. So that we have informed the customers that this is the way which banks are going to introduce a new concept called check truncation system across India, and we have informed about and we have given some information to the customers how the checks look like and what are the benefits they get. So what the banks did was they just collected all the existing checks from the customers and issued the new CTS checks. Okay, let's move on.